Well, good evening once again. Day 1159 of the Trump administration. 225 days until our next presidential election. And if you were watching the White House briefing earlier tonight, then you know nothing but good news. The president says it will be over very soon, that businesses will be open very soon, and we should await the okay to get going. He says the vaccines are coming along very quickly. They are fixing the problem. He emphasized this is a medical problem, not economic, and he said the mortality rate number may be lower than people think. Now, we should point out, in the real world, the U.S. has the highest rate of increase in the world, and our numbers rocketed up again today. And again, we don't know how many people have it in this country because people can't get tested so much of the time. Of those tested, we know we have over 43,000. And the number of deaths just went up by at least 137 just today. As we come on the air tonight, the death toll currently stands at 533. The U.S. remains way behind where we should be in this fight right now. Our economy is going into a forced kind of sleep mode, and unemployment claims are higher than they have ever been in our history. The International Monetary Fund is now warning the pandemic is likely to cause a global recession before the end of this calendar year.
America continues to mobilize every segment of our society to turn the tide in the battle against the virus. I want Americans to know that we will get through this challenge. The hardship will end. It will end soon. Normal life will return, and our economy will rebound. We cannot let the cure be worse than the problem itself. This is not a country that was built for this. It was not built to be shut down. At the end of the 15-day period, we'll make a decision as to which way we want to go, where we want to go, the timing, and essentially we're referring to the timing of the opening. Essentially the opening of our country. We have almost 160 million jobs in this country now, the most ever, by far the most ever. The number of jobs, almost 160 million. So we can't turn that off and think it's going to be wonderful. There'll be tremendous repercussions. There will be a tremendous death from that. Death. You know, you're talking about death. Probably more death from that than anything that we're talking about with respect to the virus.
Meanwhile, the Senate is paralyzed, just what Americans want to hear right about now. They're deadlocked on a nearly $2 trillion emergency bailout bill. This is the second time in as many days the Senate has failed to move forward with an aid package. A big sticking point here, the $500 billion the bill would set aside for federal loans for states, cities, businesses. The bitter partisan tension was clearly evident today on the Senate floor.
We Democrats are trying to get things done, not making partisan speech after partisan speech. Leader McConnell continues to set arbitrary vote deadlines when the matter of real importance is the status of the bipartisan negotiations.
For days now, we've been engaged in intense bipartisan talks to build emergency relief legislation on an historic scale. But yesterday, when the time came to vote on these urgent measures, our Democratic colleagues chose to block it.
We should also point out there are members of the Senate missing. They're dealing with members directly affected by the outbreak. Amy Klobuchar of Minnesota today announced her husband has tested positive for the virus and is in fact being hospitalized. Earlier this evening, the senator spoke to Rachel Maddow.
I would love to be at my husband's side right now, but instead I'm with you, which is fine, on this show. But it is so hard because you want to talk to the doctor and be there. You want to see what the oxygen levels are. You want to bring flowers, and you can't do any of that. And that's going to happen to everyone. The American people should not settle for what they've had to date, which is not enough tests, not enough equipment. And that's why I'm here tonight.
Yesterday, Republican of Kentucky, Senator Rand Paul revealed he had tested positive for the virus. Today, as he was being criticized for being tested despite having no symptoms, he insisted more Americans should be able to be tested. Senator Paul, who we hasten to add is a doctor, had used the Senate gym and had been in close contact with senators while waiting for his results. One of those senators is Mitt Romney. Here's how his close friend, the president, reacted to the news yesterday that Romney is in quarantine.
Romney's in isolation?
Yes.
Gee, that's too bad. Go ahead.
Detect sarcasm there?
No,
sir?
None whatsoever.
So there was that. Today in the briefing room, Dr. Deborah Bricks was asked about Rand Paul's decision not to self-isolate while waiting for test results.
Each person has to be responsible in the way that they decrease their interaction with others, the 6 feet. And you're all very social distance, so thank you. But also assuming that everyone that you're interacting with could be positive.
There was also a notable absence at this evening's briefing. That would be Dr. Anthony Fauci. He was MIA. More on that ahead. And one more thing from the briefing. The president, who has been trying hard, along with backup from some on Fox News, to brand this illness as the Chinese virus, reacted today to the prejudice this has caused toward Asians here in the U.S.
It seems that there could be a little bit of nasty language toward the Asian Americans in our country, and I don't like that at all. They are making statements to great American citizens that happen to be of Asian heritage.
Hey there, I'm Chris Hayes from MSNBC. Thanks for watching MSNBC on YouTube. If you want to keep up to date with the videos we're putting out, you can click subscribe just below me or click over on this list to see lots of other great videos.